and welcome to today's Mancunian Matters Culture and Lifestyle programme, where we take a look at Manchester's thriving arts, sports and culture hotspots. Before we begin, here's what's coming up on the show. Emily went to check out Manchester's vegan scene to find out how easy or how hard it is to have an alternative diet here in Manchester.
The Mellowland Markets are an annual event empowering and promoting UK black-owned businesses. Harleen went down to the market to take a look for herself.
Amy investigates the aftermath of overcoming a nicotine addiction.
And meanwhile, Mahek interviewed a small online shop owner based in Blackley, championing black fashion, where they had a conversation about cultural appreciation and wider themes around diversity in business.
Thomas went down to Manchester's Rainy City Roller Derby League to find out what motivates the players of the extreme sport to get involved.
But first we go across to you, Mia, who is investigating the drop in fertility rate here in the UK.
Rate in England and Wales has dropped to a new low, as just over 591,000 babies were born in 2023, fewer than any other year since 1977. The average age of new mums and dads has increased to 33 for fathers and 30 for mothers. But whilst the number of births fell to a new low, the number of women of childbearing age is actually at its highest ever at 12 million. I spoke to registered midwife Risha Mystery to get her take on the current situation.
My name is Risha and I'm a midwife. In my day-to-day work I have noticed a drop in the fertility rate, mainly because of health reasons. So there's so many conditions out there which have affected women's fertility. Also lifestyle changes as well, which have affected it. I've noticed a difference in the age of when people have children. It's definitely got older, I would say. From when I've worked as a midwife, you notice a lot of women sort of past 30s, which typically before that would be considered old, but obviously now it's normal. I think it's because of, again, health reasons, and also a lot of women have a lot that they want to do before they have kids, so that sort of delays things. I think the main reasons for women not wanting to have children would probably be financial. That's the main one, I'd probably say. So financially everything's getting more expensive these days. Having children in general is expensive, rent and everything. So a lot of women they feel like they want to have children but they can't because of that. Another reason would probably be career. So a lot more women typically are going to university and having careers compared to before, when it would just be more staying at home, which I know a lot of women still do, but I think that's probably a big reason that I've noticed as well. I think the drop in fertility rate is slightly concerning, just because I think because of all the health conditions that women are having, it's becoming more of a thing. So most women tend to have something which affects their fertility. I think there is still a taboo around women not wanting to have children, probably by family members of the older generation, and then wanting to have grandkids. And just culturally, religiously as well, there's a big sort of thing around that. I think socially it is becoming more accepted, but I think it has taken a lot of time to get to that point. I think what the government could do to try and encourage people to have children would definitely be set up more things around childcare, just because that's a big reason for why a lot of women don't have more children, is because they've got enough children already and they can't look after anymore. So if there was childcare in place, it would make it a lot more easier for women to focus on their newborn child. For women that are conflicted whether or not they want to have children, there are quite a lot of resources out there. I think social media is probably the biggest platform. I know it sounds quite silly, but TikTok, Instagram, there is a lot of information on there from qualified midwives, nurses, and I think Facebook group chats as well. There's a lot of Facebook group chats for women going through the same thing to sort of discuss their concerns. And even in the hospital as a midwife as well, we have a lot of leaflets, and we will signpost them to different companies and things for counselling or anything that they need.
It isn't just the UK who is battling with this issue. In most countries around the world, including Italy, Spain and Poland, fertility rates are falling. But as women around the world become better educated, paid and valued in their chosen careers, will this be a problem we see far into the future? Or will governments introduce measures that make family life feel a little more achievable and affordable?
Geese.
I was curious if you think that the decline of fertility rate is a concern for the UK.
I think it is a slight concern for the population as it ages. There's going to be fewer working age people to support the growing number of older adults, which kind of puts a pressure on social services, healthcare, pensions. But at the same time, it's really important for women to still thrive in their careers, and it's great that that's really being championed, that they're being valued in the workplace. So I think it's definitely a nuanced issue.
Yeah. Do you think the cost of living crisis has had a major effect on people's fertility choices?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a lot of couples who would really like, as Risha said, to start trying for a baby, but they feel like they're not in the financial position at all that they could do that. I think the average cost to raise a child from birth to 18 in the UK every year is £12,400.
Wow.
So that's an extreme amount of money to find spare if you wanted to think about trying to start a family. So that coupled with the cost of living crisis, it's going to be really tough for families.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up is Amy's investigation into vaping. She spoke to Elijah Gill, who's recently quit smoking to take up vaping.
Me stopping smoking when I'm probably smoking something as bad as a cigarette.
I'm Amy Buick for Mancunian Matters, reporting on whether vaping is really better for you than smoking. Smoking traditional cigarettes involves inhaling tobacco smoke, which contains thousands of harmful chemicals, including tar and carbon monoxide. These substances are linked to serious health issues such as lung cancer and heart disease. Due to this, some adults have turned to vaping. Some studies have shown that vaping has fewer harmful substances, but do we really know the effects vaping has on our body? I spoke to Elijah Gill about his transition from cigarettes to vapes.
I started smoking first year of university, like around halfway through when I was 18, and it was just cigarettes at that point. Usually I started with my friends would be smoking on a night out, and so then I'd just have like a drag or two of their cigarette, and then like every other night out from there, it'd be like, oh, can I have a cigarette? Can I have a cigarette? And then eventually I started buying my own packs, and it just sort of snowballed from there. And eventually I was smoking probably around 10 cigarettes a day. And then in between all this, because obviously you can't smoke at work, so I'd ask for some of my co-workers vapes, and so I'd also be vaping at the same time basically. There was a couple of times that I tried to quit, so I'd just buy like a vape, but never really stuck. Probably until around 6 weeks ago when I quit smoking cigarettes again and went on to vapes, which I'm still doing. Now, instead of the disposable vapes, I've just got a refillable one because they're very expensive otherwise. And to be fair, that's another reason I had to quit. Cigarettes really do cost a lot, and especially when you're smoking like 5 a day, so you end up having to buy a pack, you know, every like 4-5 days. So it does definitely rack up in expenses as well. Withdrawal symptoms aren't too bad right now, but for the first couple of weeks were definitely there. Like, I was just getting way more cravings, I was eating way more. I think I put on like 10 kilograms. I'm not as bad about it now, but like literally a couple of weeks back I was like, I'm so fat. It was horrible, honestly. I was also having trouble sleeping and stuff. Usually before bed I'd have a cigarette and stuff like that, so it just felt really weird. And like, although I was vaping, it just never, it still doesn't hit the same as a cigarette. So it just was like, it was a lot harder to get to sleep. It felt like I had some sort of insomnia. Still struggling with that a bit, I'd say. It was also quite hard because I didn't want my parents to know I smoked. I was quite ashamed of it, I guess, because, you know, it's something they always told me not to do, and then I've done it, and I know they don't like cigarettes, so it was really hard to try and keep it a secret from them as well. There's no stigma to smoking. It's just in my brain, I just knew it wasn't right.
I asked Elijah his opinion on whether vapes are better for you than traditional cigarettes.
Vaping has definitely helped, like, a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still nicotine. It's still, you know, it still is good. And for a while, I was just getting the disposable ones. And literally, if I'd run out of one of the 600 puff ones, I'd go out to just a random like this would literally be like 2 a.m. I'd go out to Spar and grab another one, some really off-brand that tasted disgusting, but I'd still smoke it anyway, just because it was a vape and it had nicotine in it. So like, but at that point it was like, what is the point of me stopping smoking when I'm probably smoking something as bad as a cigarette? I guess it just sort of, I think at that point that sort of got to me when I was like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna buy the refillable ones, just because they don't make me feel as bad. I still do think that vapes are as bad as cigarettes. I mean, there's still so many unknown side effects, long-term side effects. Like you see with cigarettes, when they first started getting smoked, no one knew about the long-term side effects of it, and now they do. So now they post them everywhere. These have only been like a proper thing for what, like 5-6 years, especially with like young kids now. So no one really knows the long-term side effects of vapes yet, which is again very worrying. But you might end up getting the same thing from this, but you just don't know it yet, so in your mind it's okay. I mean, I do want to eventually quit vaping and smoking altogether, just I guess for my, because if health-wise it feels like it's something I should do. I guess in my mind right now I'm sort of thinking to myself, I'm young, so it's okay and I can get away with it for now.
That was a really interesting piece, Amy. In your opinion, which is better for you, traditional cigarettes or vapes?
I'll be totally honest, I think that neither are better for you. And if you can, I think you should stay clear of both. Obviously, there's a lack of research in vapes, so we're not too sure what the long-term effects look like. But there is a lot of research into cigarettes, so we know what your next few years is going to look like if you keep smoking them. So, honestly, neither of them are worth it.
Has this video changed your perspective?
Yeah, it has made me consider more about what I put into my body and what it's going to do for me in the future.
Are you aware yourself of any other symptoms?
Yeah, so I'd never thought about the fact of losing weight due to cigarettes and then gaining it when you stop, because obviously if you're smoking cigarettes, you lose your weight. As soon as you stop smoking and you get cravings, you replace it with food. So like Elijah that I spoke to got on 10 kilograms. So it's just, that's something I just never connected to nicotine.
Yeah, I would have thought either.
Earlier this year, Manchester was voted the UK's second best city for vegans. It was beaten by Brighton. So Emily went to investigate Manchester's vegan scene.
City best known for its music, sport, buses and weather. But what about food? I've taken to the streets to ask Manchester's vegans what they think of Manchester's vegan scene. The Northern Vegan Festival gathers independent businesses offering vegan products, whether that be food or household items, all in one place. Earlier this year, Manchester was ranked the second best city to be vegan in, so there isn't a better place for over 80 stalls to gather, creating a one-stop shop experience for the 2.5 million vegans here in the UK.
I am vegan. I've been vegan for 9 years, and before that I was veggie since I was like 14. I actually think Manchester is dying a death on veganism. I think when we first opened, we were like the only solely vegan business in Manchester, and then V-Revs opened on Oldham Street, and then for ages we were the only 2 vegan businesses in the whole of Manchester. For ages, I was the only vegan events caterer in the whole of the north of the country. That was like 2012, 2013, whereas now there is absolutely loads, but we've definitely seen a fall in business in the last 2 years, I'd say.
I've been vegan on and off for a while, but probably now for about 3 years. And I did Veganuary and found it really easy, but now things like that are even easier, because there's, even compared to like 3 or 4 years ago, there's so much more to choose from.
and I think we're quite spoilt in Manchester as well with the choice that we have, and wherever you go, I love going out for dinner and stuff, and you always have something now. And even 4 years ago, you would probably, I don't know, maybe you have to ask to tweak this, tweak that. But now, yeah, it's changed, hasn't it? And definitely moving in the right direction. I live in Chorlton, and yeah, we love our vegan food there.
Here in Withington to ask vegans what they think of Manchester's vegan scene.
I've been vegan since New Year 2020, so almost 5 years now. I've been vegan for just under 3 years.
And what do you think about Manchester's vegan scene?
I think it's pretty good. I think it's getting better every year. There's like a lot of, especially kind of in student areas, there's a lot of different vegan places.
Yeah, I think, like places like the Northern Quarter, they've got a lot of stuff, but like here in Withington, it's really popping off. So yeah, lots of different cuisines. It's great.
Is there any favourite places?
I really like San Scrutty at the end of our road. That's really good, like a vegan Indian place. And I like Fuel in Withington. That's good.
I really like the Eighth Day Cafe, like near Mancunian University. Yeah, that's really nice.
Research from 2022 showed that 22% of Mancunians claim to be either vegetarian or vegan. A study from 2023 found that certain online searches for vegan eateries increased by 84%. That's all from me. Back to you in the studio.
Hi Emily, thank you for that, please. So, as someone who's not originally from Manchester, I just wanted to know what you thought about the Manchester vegan scene.
I think Manchester being a big city has some really great options. I think obviously Veganuary is coming up soon, so there'll be a lot more options. But then unfortunately they decrease when it gets to February.
Okay. And do you have a favourite vegan spot around Manchester?
There's some really great places. Blunderbuss is great if you want like Indian street food, or the Eighth Day. That one's really nice.
I'd recommend you try Vertical. It's like on the way to Market Street. Really good. They have like such a big variety. And of course, Christmas season approaching. What do you think vegans will be eating this Christmas Day?
Well, I personally will be having vegan mac and cheese. Still roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings, or the veg. But I know a lot of my friends, they often have like nut roasts.
Okay. And now for the sports roundup.
Now let's take a look at some sporting events coming up soon in Manchester and across the UK. So guys, we know the Women's Euros are next year in 2025, and England are currently the reigning champions of the Euros. Do you think it's coming home next year?
So coming
Absolutely.
home. Even though Spain is our biggest competitor at the moment, both men and women's football, but I'm not worried.
Well, yeah, we won the last one, but then obviously we know that in the last Women's World Cup, we did not win that one due to being beat by Spain. Same with the men's last year. So I think it will obviously be interesting to see how women's football develops in these Euros as well, because considering in the last one we've got quite a few household names from it, like Jill Scott winning on instead after. So I think seeing that development in women's football will be very interesting.
I wonder if it'll be deja vu again.
Yeah.
Being in the final.
And it's so nice to see more exposure for brands, like I'm going on social media and I'm seeing like Nike, for example, there's a lot more brand deal, there's more sponsorship towards like female footballers, and it's just nice to see progress.
Well, I think if the men can't do it, I definitely think the women can.
Yes, agreed.
And then this weekend we've also got the Manchester Derby coming up. So Man United versus Man City. What are your guys' score predictions?
Honestly, I think they'll be lucky that either of them to score a goal.
I agree with
At
that.
this rate that they're going.
I agree.
I think a 0-0 tie probably is.
I would agree with you, although I am biased. I'm a United fan, but I do think it's going to be 0-0 as well.
Yeah. And then this weekend just been, we had the finale of the Formula One. It was obviously Lewis Hamilton's last race with Mercedes, who he's been with since 2013. He is moving to Ferrari next year, so it'll be interesting to see if he performs the same. What do you guys think?
Oh, but I just want to know the fans' reactions to it's such a long time. He's moved to Ferrari now.
I know myself, I was very emotional because I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan. This weekend was just very emotional, obviously celebrating with his team. But I'm interested to see what you can do.
Do you think he'll succeed more for it?
It's hard to say that, considering he's become the greatest of all time at Mercedes. So can you be greater than the greatest of all time? Who knows?
Now over to Mahek, who's taken a look at what it means to appreciate Nigerian culture.
My name is Adekemi Ayodele. I'm from Nigeria and I'm a fashion designer, what you call a fashion creative. My brand is Abake by Equip, and basically I do a blend of traditional fashion with contemporary fashion. So trying to mix traditional African fabrics into contemporary modern day styles that everybody can relate to it. So the goal of the business, or the aim of the business, is actually to promote African fabrics and encourage the use of African fabric and discourage the misappropriation of African fabrics. As a young child, my mom learned how to sew, and we were not quite financially buoyant, so during Christmas my mom always make our clothes for us, and it's cheaper for her to make a few pieces of clothing, and when she's making those clothes we're always involved, so I got really interested in that. And for me, I'm a Yoruba girl, so from Nigeria we've got different tribes, but I'm from the Yoruba tribe, and we have our own story about fashion, about textiles. When you use a piece from a particular group of people and you do not acknowledge those group of people for that piece, then I think you have not actually appreciated the beauty or the story or the strength that was put into that piece. A lot of people just pick these designs, they pick this style, you go into the big manufacturing companies and then you can mass produce it. For example, before, when they say African fashion, what comes to most people's mind is tribalistic. The tribal prints, the tiger prints, the leopard prints, even on runways, that's what you see. Then you see the face painting. It's not, it doesn't mean that's not true, but that's not the African fashion. That's for a particular tribe. So that doesn't represent the whole of Africa fashion itself. For me, in the Yoruba land, we've got this piece of textile. We call it the ashoke, basically clothes from the Midland. So it's hand woven, and there are different stories to it. There are different patterns, and each pattern comes with a reason and the story. So before we had the influx of production of African prints from the West, from China and everything. They are indigenous fabrics that people made by themselves, hand woven. This is one of them. And then we've got the traditional tie and dye. Tie and dye is everywhere, but then in Nigeria we have our own specific design. In some African countries they call it mud cloth, but we call it batik, or we call it adire. And then we've got, I'm going to show you the cap. From my tribe, mostly we've got this cap. It looks like what we call durang nowadays because the styles have been changing, but in the traditional form we call it fila. And there are particular ways where you put it on and you style it in a way. For a man, they know you are not married. You style it in a way and they know you are married. So it adds different meanings. This is the cap from the Yoruba tribe. This is made from ashoke, and we call this pattern sonyo. So it's just the threads that are used in weaving it is just basically beige and white and cream or white or crimson. So mostly back then, before the contemporary fashion and everybody uses everything, is basically used by chiefs if you are in a high position or in the high council chief. So it's basically used by chief or very rich people. It's the cap. It's the cap that men mostly use it, but nowadays, like I said, fashion is evolving and you see women using some accessory and pieces from men. So you can style it in different ways. Some style it this way. I keep forgetting, I think if it's the left or right, it's one side means you're married, the other side you mean, and some people just style it, put it inside in between. And back then there was a particular one that is for poor people. They call it the kijipa. So if you're wearing that, if you have that kind of because it's basically bland, made with black wool or brown wool, so it doesn't show color. So they just mean it's people who can afford to infuse color into their pattern or their textile. So nowadays you have the durang. So let's just say the durang has just been restyled to be more firm on the head, but it still does the same job like covering the head, but this just have more significant meaning. Doing business in another country, it's a new dynamics, especially for new immigrants like myself. There's a lot for you to learn. There's a different culture, and we're different people. The way we are vibrant, kind of, and I think we put that into our business. So I think people need to understand that we love colors, we are vibrant, so and we impute that into our behaviors, into our music, into everything we do. So people shouldn't find it strange or thinking about, oh, they're too loud.
It's clear that fashion is a powerful form of expression and identity. Back to you in the studio.
Brilliant, that was Mehek's piece on black-owned fashion. So Mehek, why do you think it's important that we all look into and understand different heritage in relation to fashion?
Currently we're in Manchester and such a diverse place. You have different fashion subcultures, different music subcultures, and of course different backgrounds, and they all can learn from each other, take from each other. And it's why would you want to learn more? So it's really beautiful.
Well, as you say, Manchester's got a very kind of culturally diverse and large ethnic minority background, and you've got large swathes of South Manchester in particular, so it's definitely not a different cultural hodgepodge almost. Does your heritage personally influence your fashion choices at all?
Yeah, personally, growing up studying, I couldn't embrace my culture as much publicly. Of course, with my family and friends, it's different. But now it's I always wear the big chunka earrings, with my everyday wear, or the tika with my everyday wear, and it's just so nice. For example, my grandma growing up, she was a goth, but she put a Pakistani twist to it.
A goth?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's she's not that anymore, because it's she's got this mindset that if she wears black now, it's bad luck. I don't know why that's a thing, but it's just there's so many different ways that people can portray being a goth, but then she had a little Pakistani twist to it, and it's just why I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're going to take a little look at something different now. We're going to take a look at some sport with our next feature on Rainy City roller derby.
Extreme sport with a cult following. In many ways, it's like other sports, but it also attracts a very different type of person and a very different type of vibe. Here in Manchester, we have 4 teams in Rainy City Roller Derby League.
One of those teams, Rainy City All-Stars, is one of the best in the world. I went down to this leisure centre in Bury to find out more from everyone involved, seasoned players and trainees alike. In particular, I wanted to speak to people at Rainy City to get a sense as to what it was about roller derby that appealed to them.
I'm not the sportiest of people traditionally, but I wanted something where I could make friends, learn something new, and I really wanted to learn to roller skate. I came and saw a friend of mine play a rookie game, and I saw it and just fell in love. Everyone was just so friendly, and the atmosphere was great, and it just looked really fun.
I think it's just bringing people together, and I think there's a real sense of camaraderie. I've not done a team sport before, so this to me is I'm really liking that, because we're looking out for each other, helping each other, and that's really what it's about, isn't it? Being part of something.
Yeah. The full rules of roller derby are quite complex, but for a basic understanding, the game is played on a flat track over 2 30-minute halves. There are 2 teams with 5 players from each team on the track at any one time. Of those 5, one is designated as the jammer, who can score points. They score by passing the players on the other team as they go around the flat track. The other 4 players will try to block the jammer and stop them from scoring points. There are lots of other rules too. Pivots, penalties, official reviews, the sin bin and more. But a full understanding of every rule isn't required to enjoy the game. And despite the astonishing sights it can bring with its athleticism and at times brutality, I don't think the spectacle is where the appeal ends either. Instead, the real heart of roller derby lies in the people who play it, what motivates them, the community they have built, and their love for the sport and each other. Those who play aren't usually your typical people who compete in sports.
I think for me, I've never really been involved or engaged in sport. I didn't think that I was someone that could play sport. I'm plus size and I'm disabled, but I found roller derby and it was a community for me. It was really welcoming, and it was a space that was other people were the same as me. They hadn't been involved in sports previously as well. So I just think it's a really good sport for people that have always maybe been on the outside of being an athlete.
It attracts a sort of more like alternative person, I suppose, like traditionally. I think because it's like a bit of extreme sport as well. And it's one of them that I personally feel like a lot of games are a bit more extreme, where you're almost like fighting on the like court, on the track or whatever. The community tends to be like a lot friendlier, which is where people think I sometimes like put off by it. But I think, yeah, no, when you're actually slamming into each other that much off the track, you are like just the best of friends. And yeah, I think that's probably got a lot to do with it. And that's probably also the fact that it was sort of traditionally a women's sport. I think we sort of do generally come together a bit, like quite a lot.
A friendliness and inclusivity is woven into the fabric of Rainy City. It is unashamedly vibrant, alternative and queer. The league wears that on its sleeve, and this is where you can clearly see the difference between the community it has built up compared to more traditional athletic spaces.
Basically been really inclusive. I think what's really good is obviously it's welcoming to people who are non-binary, who are trans. I'm trans, and I'm really worried about being accepted in sports. So this is something I can really, do it and enjoy it without that kind of stupid worry about stuff that comes with that. But 30 years ago, it seemed no problem at all, and now it seems to be suddenly a problem, and I don't really get why. So I really worry about that kind of bad media around that, and being able to play with other women, for me, is really important as part of the team.
I think it is a really welcoming space. I think if you look at like the gender policies for each kind of roller derby, it welcomes everyone. But I think as well, there's a lot of effort to be like that. There's a lot of consideration for how we're open to all different people, how we can change our language, how we can make sure that people understand drills and training, just to make sure it is inclusive. And I think once you try it and you see all that effort that's gone into making it a space for everyone, it's easier to stay in it. You don't feel like that you can't be in that space.
For more information, check out Rainy City Roller Derby's website and social media.
So, great piece, Tom. It looks like a really extreme and intense sport. Do you know if they get any injuries and how they deal with that?
Yeah, sure. So I spoke to a lot of different people about that, and one of the kind of interesting things, so I spoke to someone called Claire Stapleton, who was a player on Rainy City, and she's a physiotherapist, and she's actually, as a lecturer, she does students who have looked into specifically roller derby injuries as part of their course. And I think what the interesting thing is, when they're clattering into each other, that hurts a lot less than it looks, but when they fall on the floor, that is where you tend to get some like bone breakage and that kind of thing. So it does happen. It's inevitability. They've got a really strong concussion protocol, and they've got a lot of kind of thresholds for safety and that kind of thing. Obviously, they're wearing on protective gear and stuff. So this, to an extent, yes, it's safe, and they certainly do all they can. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the sport, it's a little bit brutal. So these things do happen.
Yeah, and when you walked into that sports hall, what was that atmosphere like when you first walked in?
I was a little bit intimidated when I first walked in, because it just it's something very new to me. But everyone was very nice. I mean, obviously I would say that, but it really was. Everyone was lovely. Who was on the video, Jenny, who replaced the Rainy City Reckoning, and she was very, very nice to me. She introduced me to different people and set up different interviews for me, and really explained me and talked me through the sport. And I think really what you get a sense for is that community. Everyone really feels like they're together, and everyone, but even on the other team, we were playing London, everyone got on really well, and all the volunteers and the the officials and things. How about you? I mean, you're a woman. Would you get into the roller derby? Is that something you can ever see yourself doing?
Well, I think I've definitely got the aggression for it.
Exactly.
But I think it just depends on my roller skating abilities, and they're not the best. So,
I can teach you a little bit.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you described it sounds great. I'd love to maybe try it one day.
Fair enough. Well, until then, Harleen has been looking at Manchester's annual Melanin Markets that took place last weekend. Brought together black-owned businesses from across the UK to celebrate culture and creativity. So Harleen went down to visit and check out the markets.
Buzzers with the festive spirit in the lead up to Christmas, Sunday the 8th of December saw the Royal Exchange Theatre host a truly unique event. The Melanin Markets, themed Winter Wonders, is Manchester's largest festival of black-owned businesses celebrating creativity, culture and community. At the heart of it all is Bianca Danielle, co-founder and CEO of the Melanin Markets. I caught up with her to learn more about the vision behind this incredible celebration.
Hiya, my name's Bianca Danielle. I'm the organiser and founder of Mancunian Markets. So it's the 4th time I've done this December event. So we say it's festive feel, and it's an opportunity for everyone to intentionally replace products that they would have bought at big chain shops in city centres with independent black-owned local businesses. It's just full of vibes, and it's always just very community and lovely.
Bianca initially founded her business in 2021 and decided she wanted to build a network and a space where makers could connect and thrive as part of the black community.
To be honest, by nature, us as black people, we're vibrant, we're fun, everything we do, everything, how we manoeuvre in the world is always about black joy and community and togetherness. And I think like this just allows us to unapologetically be that and do that and invite all communities to come in and enjoy that with us.
This year's markets brought together an incredible lineup of 48 businesses, from refreshing drinks by Root 2 Ginger to stunning handcrafted jewellery and live music. There was something for everyone.
Everyone that comes in, I always hope that they've been able to speak to the traders, they've been able to have family moments, friend and family moments, and they've been able to maybe try a new food, meet an owner who makes their own skincare range. And I think it's a really great educational and learning opportunity, but it's also just an opportunity to just be and to just laugh and to understand that it's important where we spend our money and who we're around, and it's about diversifying the spaces that you go into as well.
Of the 48 businesses present, more than half were founded in Manchester, but this event also brought in creators from across the country, with vendors from London, Liverpool, Birmingham, Newcastle and beyond. And at the heart of it all is Bianca Danielle, a proud Mancunian herself.
I love my city. I love Manchester. I think we're really hard workers, but at the same time, we know how to let our hair down. We know how to have a good time. And I think we come together instantly through hardship. I just want us to be able to come together more often for joy. But yeah, I feel like no matter where Mancunian Markets goes, Manchester will always be its home, its central space. And I don't have to, code switch. I don't have to feel like, oh my gosh, will people like my product? What will people say? You can just turn up as you are. I think that's a really essential thing with what Mancunian Markets is and stands for. And I also think being able to spend with the black community, knowing who it's going to, being able to help somebody to, strengthen their business by buying from it, by talking to them about why they started it, where are they going with it. I think it's just us having spaces to meet customers face to face. It's something that in this digital age, a lot of it's taken away from us. But yeah, there's just so many reasons as to support places and events like Mancunian Markets.
From starting her own business in 2021 to creating one of the largest festivals of black-owned businesses in Manchester, Bianca has achieved something truly remarkable. But how does she sum it all up? I asked her to describe her business and its development in just one word.
It's everything. It is everything. There isn't just one word, because everyone takes away their own little bits. It's magical and it's empowering and it's necessary and needed, and it's resistance. Maybe that's what the word is. It's resistance and uprising. It's a form of protest in a way that everyone can participate in. It's standing for who we are, what we believe in, and it's saying we will not just be put in a corner. Every event we do, we take over a building. Every pop-up we do, we're at the front. We're not going to be put in a corner, and we're not going to be watered down. We're going to come as we are. So yeah, maybe it's resistance actually.
The Mancunian Markets were established to address the underrepresentation and lack of inclusivity in the business world. Since its launch, it has hosted over 12 successful building takeovers, creating vibrant spaces for connection and commerce. And as the journey continues, the hope is to keep providing a platform where black businesses can thrive, innovate and be celebrated, not just here in Manchester, but across the UK.
Harleen, thank you so much for such an insightful piece. I think it's really nice to see a more community vibe to the Christmas markets, because we were saying before this that it feels like the Christmas markets in Manchester can sometimes feel like a one in, one out kind of situation, or very rushed.
Yeah.
What stood out to you most at the Mancunian Market?
It had to be the atmosphere. everyone was so chatty. It was like a family atmosphere going on. I was speaking to every single vendor there, and like you said with the Christmas markets, this just felt so more homely and like everybody wanted to chat to each other. Obviously, like I said, Market Street is so busy. You know, you don't get the chance to stop and look for a while.
People's stories.
Exactly. It just felt so different, and it was just, I was saying, like, living here for 3 years and I've never, gone there before. It made me so frustrated. Exactly, because it was just so different and something that I would definitely go to again.
Yeah. Was there a stall that stood out to you the most?
Well, I did buy a few things. I spent a lot of time there after I finished my interview. But one stood out for me definitely. His name was John Grant, and he was literally painting like a picture of Michael Jackson whilst I was stood there next to him. So I bought a present from him for my dad. And everybody else was amazing though. Like the food was amazing, the drinks were amazing. They had like Jamaican hot chocolate, Yorkshire pudding, like wrap, but in like Jamaican style as well, which is great.
Yeah, like a slice of that.
So it was amazing, honestly. I think, like I said, I definitely go back.
What do you hope that the audience takes away from your coverage of that?
I think it would definitely just be to support small businesses if you get the chance to. Like Bianca was saying in the video, it's a chance to kind of replace your fast fashion, your fast products, and just kind of support the small businesses who work so hard, and it's their side hustle or it's their full-time job or their hobby. It's just that chance to show them some love and appreciation.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for covering it.
Thank you.
We're now going to take a look at some music in Manchester. So now we're going to have a look at our music roundup in Manchester. We'll have a look at some local bands and some of the things that are coming in the pop world to Manchester in 2025.
Yeah, so we'll kick off with some kind of local music from myself. There's an article coming out on the Mancunian Matters website in the next few weeks, looking at some bands to keep an eye on in 2025 from around Manchester, like kind of local bands that aren't necessarily signed to a record label or anything. One of the bands is Square Wild, who are kind of a progressive band. They span a lot of different genres amongst the rock umbrella. But we've done interviews with them before when they've kind of been in gig tournaments around Manchester, and we've covered them a little bit. But they're a really, really interesting band. They do really quite forward-thinking stuff. And the lead singer is very charismatic as well, very, very nice woman as well. So I think that's one band I think to keep an eye on. And then another band that I think is worth shouting out in particular is Loose Articles, who are a punk band who are starting the Kick Like a Girl scheme.
Yeah, I like the sound of it.
Yeah, well, they're championing it. It's people aged 14 to 25 from marginalised backgrounds, trying to get them involved in the music. It's specifically female and non-binary as well. And rock's very male heavy, so I think that's a really good initiative.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it should hopefully give some good new faces in the scene, which is always a good thing, particularly for the rock scene, as I say, with women. But yeah, popping over to the pop world.
Yeah. Well, after the chaos of the Co-op Live opening, we finally have some incredible artists in Manchester next year, particularly for the pop genre. Sabrina Carpenter is making her way to Manchester. Very sadly, I didn't get tickets, but she was my top-rated artist on Spotify this year. I personally think I should have got free tickets.
Doesn't get you tickets, does it?
No. We've also got Ollie Murs, Tate McRae, Robbie Williams, and Billie Eilish. But fans have really been complaining about ticket prices. Have you guys had any interesting experiences recently with ticket prices?
I've personally been getting quite a few, found some good deals.
Yeah, how are you finding these bargains?
Often, if you just go on Ticketmaster a couple of days before, you can resale tickets at pretty cheap. I saw the Jonas Brothers quite recently at Co-op Live, and I think that was only about £45.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, on the opposite end of that spectrum, I paid tickets to see Oasis next summer. And I wasn't one of the unlucky ones. So they did dynamic pricing, which is kind of like how Uber works. So there's more demand, the price goes up. I did not get caught out by that, but I still had to pay about £160 for my ticket. And then I think some people with dynamic pricing were paying like £350, £360 to, that's pretty, I don't know how quite. I mean, Taylor Swift goes higher, doesn't she? Like, like £400, £500. So there's definitely a conversation to be had about, are we locking people out of the live music experience? I mean, can you even, can a normal, regular person see their favourite band if it's a big artist anymore? Is that,
Do you think it will, like you say, it will cut off people from going to see gigs.
Well, you would assume so, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would absolutely say so.
Because like it's not great the amount of kind of having to fork out to see a live act. You know, it's all kind of unheard of.
Something we all get so much enjoyment from as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty sad. Well, hopefully more can be done in the music industry about that. But that is all from us at Mancunian Matters.
Yeah, so if you want to give us a follow on social media, we've got our Twitter, our Instagram, and also on our website. You can check out more articles covering a lot of the same themes that we covered today. Mancunianmatters.co.uk.
Thank you for watching.